What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast. I'm your host, Carl.
I am your co-host, Kaka,
Co host, Kaka. Off the top.
aka Erika.
I wasn't expecting that. So, just two of us today.
Just the hubby and wifey show today.
We thought there was going to be four of us, but our two friends had some family duties that they had to attend to.
It happens.
Definitely happens, especially with big families. Us having a newborn, we kind of understand that. We have grandma and grandpa here babysitting the baby.
Gigi Ma and Gigi Pa for the win.
Third week of October. We hope you guys are having a great spooky month as it's slowly coming to a terrible end.
Hitting up some haunted houses.
Haunted houses, scary movies.
This is the first year we've not been able to go to any haunted houses.
So it's our favorite thing to do, I think.
One of our favorite things to do.
At least me, it's probably my favorite thing to do. We had a child this year, and she's just a little bit too little for us to be leaving to go.
We have plenty of people that would watch her, but we choose not to.
Yeah, we're very responsible. Hope you guys are watching plenty of horror movies. What did you say? You said something about the Screamway.
Make sure you guys visit the Cardinal Screamway. They get better and better each year.
For our local listeners, that's obviously Jonesboro. People who aren't really local, it's a local kind of like walkway haunted house.
Haunted walkway.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like super cheap, really fun.
General admission is $5, and I believe this is the first year they're having Fast Pass tickets, which I think are $15.
Yeah, and Erika's brother, who does some of the photos and everything, he's actually in it this year.
Is
so
he? Did he decide to do it?
He's doing it on Saturday.
Good.
Actually, he took the day off for it.
My opinion's probably biased, but I always thought he was the best attraction.
I think he's the best one for sure. Do you believe in ghosts?
I'm the type of person that seeing is believing, and I've never seen a ghost, but I have had a pretty creepy experience. It wasn't creepy to me; it's creepy to other people. To me, it was like tears. I think I cried tears of joy at the time. A lot of my close family and friends have heard this story, and I have proof of it. If I didn't have this picture, people would tell me I'm probably full of shit. But when I first started my job back in 2015, my great grandma had passed early 2015, and I started my job just a few months later. I think it was August of 2015. I had went to lunch with my boss, and I came back to work, and my normal routine was to check the voicemail, check caller ID. That was part of my job, was customer communications. So I'm scrolling through caller ID, and a phone number and a name that I very well recognized popped up. Marjorie Carter, with her phone number. And I'm like, that's not possible. She's been gone for a few months now.
Yeah.
So I called my grandma, who was my grandma Marge's daughter, and was like, "Hey, where's grandma's cell phone?" And she said, "Well, it's in my purse in the closet. Why?" And I said, "Well, did you have the service disconnected?" She's like, "Yeah, we did that the day after she passed." Why? So I told her what happened, and I was like, "Well, I came back from lunch, and there's a missed call from her phone number, and it's got her name and everything." So she thought it was weird. She called, I think the phone company was maybe Verizon. She said she called them and told them what happened, and I guess they were pretty intrigued, and they said that number had been assigned to a new customer and everything. And so they said, we normally don't do this. They looked up the records, and no calls had been made to my office number from that phone number ever.
That story gives me chills every time I hear it. I've never been really, I'm not going to say a skeptic, but it's like how you said, like I need to like have some sort of experience. I've always believed that there was something else, but I remember when all that stuff happened, and I tell that story to this day because it's like, I don't know if you want to say it's proof, but it's our proof.
Yeah, I have date and time stamp with the name and a phone number.
Right, like we have
time
stamps
right.
of grandma trying to say what's up.
I'm here. You're doing a good job. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it's so
I
cool.
didn't really get close to my grandma Marge until just a few years before she passed. I remember her as a little girl, but I got really close to her there at the end, and she was probably one of my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, she was dope. She was cool. The Marge.
Yeah, I miss her.
So I always tell the story. I don't even know. I don't even know if it's a ghost story or if it's just something that freaked me the fuck out. And you know what story I'm about to tell. You know what story I'm about to tell. I didn't think I was
You
going to
thought I
tell
was
it.
possessed?
Yeah, I thought, okay, so there was a time where I thought Erica was possessed. Like paranormal activity type
I'm
possessed.
just gonna say nightmares run in my family. Okay.
Okay, so Erica's asleep. And I was
How
like,
long ago was this first? We lived here
this was like
2 years ago.
2 years ago, probably. And I was just up late one night, like I think I was watching football or like something on my phone, Netflix or something. And Erica's asleep, and all of a sudden, all the lights are out, and she starts like talking in her sleep, like no, no, what, like just gibberish in her sleep, and I'm like Erica, and I just they always say don't fuck with a person who's like
Sleepwalking.
sleepwalking, sleep dreaming. They
Home
always say
Alone.
that, and I will never do it from this story. And I just look over, I'm like, Erica, Erica, and she just goes, huh? And then she has her back towards me. She leans up and just faces the wall, like away from me. Sits up like this, and she's just facing the wall, and her back's towards me.
Basically, you
Dead
said by
silent.
this time I was up sitting like on the edge of the
Yeah,
bed.
she's just dead silent. Okay, and then she just starts to like do a little rock back and forth. Okay, just for a second, and then she just stands straight up like kind of like you've seen Paranormal Activity, just kind of like robotic, like a stand up, and just there's a pause. Okay, and there's like a 5 second pause from when she stands up, still dead silent, and I'm just looking at her. Okay, I'm like, okay, maybe she's gonna go take a pee, maybe she's gonna get some water, and all of a sudden, like a dart, she full on sprints around the bed to me and just stares at me like a deer in the headlights, just like this, just stares at me. No, no, no talking or nothing, and just stares at me and just sprints, and I'm freaking the fuck out. Like
I
I'm
think
like,
this story's better when you tell it in person because you
oh,
reenact
like
it.
you have to like I'm talking full on sprint around the bed, stares at me, and I'm like
Complete
Erica,
darkness.
complete darkness, and I'm like Erica, what are you doing? And then she just it's like she exhaled, walked right around back to the bed, got in bed, went to sleep,
To
and
this
I was
day,
tweaking.
I do not remember. The only thing I remember is the next morning when I'm like, "Good morning, how did you sleep?" And you're looking at me like, "Do you not remember anything?"
Yeah, I tell this story all the time, and people fucking lose their minds, and I'm like, it's nothing to laugh about.
I don't
Like it's
remember any of
nothing to
it.
laugh about. I was scared shitless. I've never been so scared in my life
No, but
ever.
I mean, you've heard my brother and my dad both tell stories. You hear
Oh, they like
Rachel tell stories
scream
about
in
my
their
dad.
sleep and shit. Like,
Well, I mean that and just night terrors.
mm.
I fully believe it's genetic. I'm not nearly as bad as they are, but you've heard the stories. It's pretty freaky.
Yeah, so that shit. I'm a horror movie guy. I love the scariest
The fake
movies.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean the fake stuff, and that shit was just insane. But the reason I asked you, do you believe in ghosts, is the two people that we're talking about today are probably the two most famous paranormal investigators to ever walk the earth.
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, the two. I'm not going to say protagonists, but the two people behind the classic Conjuring franchise
Most people know them from that movie.
from the series, and a lot of people that don't know, that haven't really dove into Ed and Lorraine Warren, don't know that they were also a part of the Amityville horror and the Haunting in Connecticut. They weren't really portrayed in those movies. They just told the stories in those movies.
Ed is actually from. They might be both from
Connecticut.
Bridgeport,
Yep, they're both
Connecticut.
from Connecticut, which is insane. So we're gonna tell the story of these guys. I think we have what one. I think we have 4 cases. They're 4 most famous cases.
Oh, they had, gosh, we could go on and on about them, but they investigated
10,000.
thousands.
10,000 cases in 40 years. I think I heard the math today on a podcast. I can't remember, but it was something weird. Like it was like 5 or I could be way off. I think it was like 5 or 6 cases per day on average,
That's insane.
which is kind of
They made a
weird.
full-time gig out of it. It was their
Yeah.
life. Like,
So there was some controversy behind. Like people think Ed and Lorraine Warren just did it for money, but I will. Before we get into this, I kind of want to make a statement. Like their daughter, which we need to look more into their daughter, like watch some more stuff
Mhm.
about her daughter. But she made it known that when they did these cases, that they made sure to tell everyone they didn't want money. They didn't accept
Oh.
money from the like investigating these cases. They made their money later on off of like books they wrote and the movie franchise and stuff like that. But you didn't have
They
to
truly,
call.
when you watch interviews, they're the type, they truly want to help people.
Oh yeah, I was telling you this. Was it yesterday or today? About like I was just listening to an interview with Lorraine and like I'm a really good reader of people like bullshit in people's voices.
Oh, she's genuine.
And she's so genuine. Like she is super genuine.
Yeah.
Like even Ed, like when they tell these stories, they'll do 3-hour interviews and they have detail, 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 detail. It's like if they're lying and telling these stories over and over and over and over and over, you see what I'm saying? Like that's big.
Well, and I feel like if they were lying, all these cases that they've investigated, one family or another is going to come forward and say, "Hey,
They're bullshit. Yeah.
we had something in our house. We had a possession. We had something," and they came, and after they left, it was still there.
So one of the Perrons and the Perrons were the family from the very first Conjuring. One of the little girls, she's old now. We watched it last night a little bit, and she's like super old now. She tells the story of when Ed and Lorraine was doing the exorcism on her mother. So they had all the kids leave the room. Well, I can't remember her name, but it's something Perrin. But
Andrea.
maybe I think it is Andrea.
Mhm.
But she actually was like kind of like being a kid, like peeking around the corner and like kind of watching like from afar.
Curious.
And she said that her mother was speaking in tongue, Latin, and seen her mother with her own 2 eyes levitate.
Andrea wrote a book about that house,
Yep.
and she said her mother is the only one. I don't know if her mother's still alive. Up until maybe she was, unalive. The mom was the only one in the family that could read the book.
Yep.
None of the siblings could read the book
I
because
remember.
she said, "We don't want to relive it. We can't."
Yeah, I remember she handed the book to her sister,
Nancy
and her
got through
sister was
60
like
pages.
60 pages in, and it's like a 300-page book, and she just brought it back to Andrea like with tears, saying, "I can't relive this. Like it fucked them up bad."
I would like to read that book.
Oh, I kind of would too. I would like to do. Okay, so the cases that we're going to cover today, they're just kind of like skim down. Like
oh yeah.
future episodes, I would like to do an Amityville episode. I would like to do a Perron episode because there's a whole lot that
So
went into
much.
these. The Enfield.
before the Warrens, this is what happened,
Yeah,
what
the
led up to
story
the
behind
Warrens
it, yeah.
coming to investigate
Yep.
these houses.
Yep. So let's go ahead and dive in a little bit to their in their background, and then I think Erica's going to kick it off with Amityville. Okay, so I'll start off with a little bit, but with the Ed and Lorraine's background. It's not going to take long. Give me just a second.
You didn't even have to say
I didn't have to say that, but listen, I'm salivating because I talk so much. I'm not even going to chop it. I'm just going to go right here. Okay. Ed Warren Miney. So I didn't realize that. We talked about that a little bit ago. That his last name is Miney and Lorraine's last name was Morin. I didn't know
he
his
must
last name was Miney.
kept his mother's last name.
Is that what that is? Maybe.
Usually
I'm not
if you have
sure.
a hyphenated last name, it's because you have your mother and your father's
I
last
don't
name.
even know if it's hyphenated. I think he has 2 last names.
Well, normally that's what it would be. That's almost like if Hallie were to have Hallie Lydic Holiday.
Yeah, true. So Ed Warren Miney was born on September 7th, 1926 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Growing up, he developed a keen interest in the supernatural after witnessing various unexplained phenomena, including a spectral figure in his family's home. So it doesn't say anything about what he's seen. He actually had visions of a nun that he had never seen in his life. And so it's not what you think. It's not the nun,
The
okay?
nun freaks me
Yeah,
out.
it's not the nun. It was actually his aunt, I believe, that he had never met before. And she went on to tell him in these visions and dreams that you were going to go on to do big things in this kind of environment,
Mm-hmm.
which is fucking insane. Lorraine Rita Morin, I think it's Morin or Moran,
Moran.
who later became Lorraine Warren, was born on January 31st, 1927, in Bridgeport. She also grew up in a family with strong belief in the paranormal and possessed inherent and psychic abilities, such as seeing auras and communicating with spirits. Ed and Lorraine met in 1944 when they were teenagers attending the same dance at the Colonial Theater in Bridgeport. They fell in love and got married on May 22nd, 1945. Their shared fascination with the paranormal led them to establish the New England Society for Psychic Research, which is the NESPR, in 1952, one of the oldest paranormal investigation organizations in the United States. Over the years, Ed and Lorraine Warren became renowned for their involvement in numerous high profile cases. So I'll talk a little bit about them. So Ed liked to paint, and here's like a weird story. So they would sell Ed to make a living. They would go like door to door selling Ed's paintings for like $3 and $4 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, that was decent money just for paintings. So how they got into the paranormal type thing and letting people getting in these houses. Lorraine was a clairvoyant, so she could see things. They would go to these houses,
I
and
think they just go driving around.
that's what it was. And Lorraine could kind of see these auras, and what she would do is she would go up to the houses. They would knock on the doors, and she would be like, "Okay, I think you have spirits in your home."
Didn't she start as here? My husband painted this picture of your house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would paint pictures of the inside of their house, things that Ed and Lorraine wouldn't be able to know, like the insides of their house, what it looked like.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
thought they just painted the
yeah.
outside.
They painted the pictures of the inside of the house. That's how they would get in. They're like, how would she know this is what our house looks like?
I did not know that. I
Yeah,
thought it was just painting the
and in the
outside.
pictures, Ed would paint like these spirits and shit, and they would tell them like your house has this in it. Can we?
Really?
And yeah, and that's
Wow.
insane. Yeah, she would paint the insides of the houses.
Yeah. Backtracking a little bit, when Ed was younger and they lived, I think it was in the Bridgeport, Connecticut house. I think he said he lived there until he was maybe 12 years old. Um, in one of the interviews, he was talking about, he asked his brother, his older brother, why are you never home at night? And his brother finally told him, my room's at the top of the stairs and that's where the door opens, and I know you see what I see. I'm not going to stay in that house at nighttime. And so he grew up in a house that was allegedly haunted, and he tells people to this day, like, I was born a demonologist. You don't go to school for demonology. You don't get a certificate or a diploma, none of that. Like,
At the
you're
time, he was
born.
like one of only 5 in the United States,
I think it was 7 actually.
maybe 7. Yeah, I knew it was like super low number.
I think this was in back in like the 60s though.
Mhm.
So it's probably a higher number today.
Yeah,
But
everybody's a demonologist today.
shout out Zach Bagans.
Yeah. Another fun fact about that story about his brother is his brother that story that he told, his brother didn't tell him that until a couple days until he died.
It was like 2 or 3 days before he died.
2 or 3 days before he died. He never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Creepy. I think we've all seen the movie or read the book, The Amityville Horror.
Oh yeah.
My friend Skylar used to talk to me about it when we were kids in elementary, middle school, maybe. And my dad never let me watch stuff like that ever.
Shout out Greg.
Yeah. So I didn't get to watch the Amityville Horror until I was probably late teens, early 20s. Um, Pretty scary movie. and
Especially
it's
like
based on a true
yeah,
story.
especially the newer one with Ryan Reynolds. I know there was an older one from the 70s or something. I haven't seen
Mhm.
that one.
Scary movies from the 70s are creepy.
Super fucking creepy.
Like
Like
the 70s version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it is just like nothing compared
that's your
to
shit. I know
love
I
Texas
know
Chainsaw.
Leatherface is the shit to you.
Biggest fear though. Biggest fear.
Chainsaws.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Every haunted house you go to, you always hear the
And I take off
chainsaw.
running every time.
Yeah, yeah.
The Amityville horror case involving Ed and Lorraine Warren is an intriguing chapter in their paranormal investigations. In 1976, a year after the notorious DeFeo family murders, the Lutz family moved into the Amityville house in Long Island, New York. They experienced a series of terrifying events that led them to seek the assistance of the Warrens. George and Kathy Lutz, along with Kathy's three children, reported a wide range of paranormal phenomena occurring in the house. These included strange odors, cold spots, unexplained sounds, and doors slamming shut on their own. They also claimed to have witnessed apparitions, including demonic figures and glowing red eyes. The activity seemed to intensify as time went on, causing tremendous distress to the family. Amidst their ordeal, the Lutz family reached out to the Warrens, who were renowned paranormal investigators. Ed and Lorraine Warren conducted an investigation into the Amityville house and the claims made by the Lutz family. They spent a night at the house during which they allegedly experienced powerful negative energies and witnessed paranormal activity. According to the Warrens, they encountered various phenomena, including unexplained sounds, physical sensations, and psychic impressions. Lorraine, who possessed psychic abilities, claimed to have sensed a malevolent presence and identified it as a demonic entity. While their investigation did not provide concrete evidence, the Warrens concluded that the Amityville house was infested by malevolent spirits. The Warrens documented their findings and the experiences of the Lutz family. Their involvement in the case brought significant attention to the Amityville haunting, propelling it into the public eye and generating widespread interest. The subsequent book, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson, published in 1977, detailed the events and became a bestseller. It was later adapted into multiple films.
Okay, so crazy fact about the Amityville house. So think of how many houses the Warrens investigated went into. All this haunted
Thousands, tens of
thousands.
thousands.
Yeah, Lorraine said she would never go back ever to the Amityville house.
That's
She said you
insane.
couldn't give her any amount of money in the world to go to that house.
That's insane. I
That
wonder what it's like today. Because there's real people that live there today.
fuck that shit.
You think it's still haunted?
I mean, I don't care if it is or not.
It's a beautiful house.
Knowing what happened there. Okay, so I'm surprised your aunt Brooke lives in the house that
Oh,
she fucking lives
murder
in.
houses terrify me. But
Like,
after you've been to one and nothing happens, it's whatever.
but it's still I don't.
I'll never forget the first time I stayed at my Aunt Brooke's house, and after finding out it was a murder house, and the room that I'm staying in is painted all pitch black, walls and ceilings.
And it was children, wasn't it? Wasn't it children or was it?
Yeah, it was a teenager.
It's bullshit. It's so stupid.
It
Well,
was
the DeFeo shit is insane too.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, being in a house where such gruesome acts were committed and just knowing details and then staying there is creepy.
It's just like one of them things that'll make your hair stick up. Just like if you kind of get in your head too much, and you just start thinking, like it just snowballs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, was this the room that things happened in? Like, it's
Oh,
kind of
you
fucked.
can't go to sleep.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. I can't.
I mean, you stayed at Aunt Brooke's house.
Yeah, but I don't. I try not to think about it.
Oh, I think about it every time. And then every time I take somebody there with me, I don't tell them about it until they're there.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like an
yeah.
hour and 20 minutes away, so
Yeah,
you're stuck.
ain't no fucking way you'd be able to get somebody to stay there if you told them beforehand.
No.
Okay, the second case we're going to talk about is the Perron family haunting. We talked a little bit about it. This is the infamous case that brought the famous Conjuring 1 movie. Okay, it was the
One of my
Kickstarter.
favorite scary movies.
It's
So good.
Insanely good.
So good.
Insane. And the crazy thing about that
That's
movie.
the
Yes, that's the claps. So the crazy thing about that movie is if you dive into this Perron family haunting, so obviously they're going to Hollywood it a little bit, right?
yeah.
But there's a lot of things in that movie that's true. So many things. The backstory
Like,
of Bathsheba, that's an
yeah.
old wives' tale that could have been fabricated a little bit, but she was a real
She the
person
one that killed her son.
with a sewing needle. Yeah, she murdered her. I don't know how old the boy was, but it was a sewing needle. And she pledged her allegiance to the devil. She was supposedly a witch. And she had a husband. Husband confronted her and she pledged her allegiance to the devil, climbed up a tree and hung herself in the backyard of that house. I don't know if it was the backyard or the front. I can't remember how it went.
The real details might be a little bit more gruesome than what the movie
I
depicts.
mean, the movie kind of depicts it.
A little bit. I don't remember
I
anything about
remember
the
that.
sewing
I
needle
remember.
though.
I remember one of the scariest jump scares in that movie was when Lorraine and Ed go to the house. I don't know if you remember this part, but Lorraine walks outside to the tree, and Ed walks up to her. He was like, "What do you see?" And
And
she's just
has
she's
like the
just
vision.
looking like it shows nothing, and all of a sudden it does the Hollywood thing where it cuts to the fright, and it's the witch hanging.
Yeah.
It's oof, God.
The scariest part for me was the whole closet where they're playing the hide and clap.
So it's so
To this
good.
day, I do not let Carl come to bed until his closet door is shut.
I'm gonna start playing that game with you.
No, we're not.
We need to watch that. We need to rewatch that needs to be like our annual thing. Is like watch the Conjuring series every spooky month. Like because they're just that good. La Llorona. That's something that we're not going to talk about. La Llorona's. You remember La Llorona? It's like the Mexican bride.
I remember like
They
I don't remember
investigated
what
that
happened.
case, which was crazy. It was like the bride died. It's an old like Spanish tale. Like
Mhm.
we'll have to dive into that one too. Let's get back to the Perron family haunting. The Perron family haunting, also known as the Harrisville haunting, is another notable case in which Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved. The haunting occurred in 1971 and involved the Perron family, who resided in a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Roger and Carolyn Perron, along with their 5 daughters, moved into the old farmhouse with hopes of starting a new life. However, they soon began experiencing disturbing paranormal phenomena that deeply affected their daily lives. The family reported witnessing apparitions, hearing unexplained sounds, and enduring physical manifestations of the haunting. The Perron family claimed that the house was plagued by malevolent spirits. They described encounters with spirits, including a woman named Bathsheba Sherman, who was believed to have been a witch and held a malevolent presence within the house. They also described levitations, objects moving on their own, and even instances of physical assault by unseen forces. Frightened and desperate for help, the Perron family reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren for assistance. The Warrens conducted an investigation into the Harrisville haunting and spent time at the farmhouse. They sought to understand the nature of the haunting, gather evidence, and provide support to the Perron family. During their investigation, the Warrens allegedly witnessed and documented various paranormal phenomena, including unexplained sounds and movements. They believed that the haunting was caused by demonic entities and malevolent spirits. Their involvement brought attention to the case and provided validation to the parents' family's experiences.
If I had $1 for every time we said the word malevolent.
You are my person. We are the same person because I swear to God to you, I was gonna say if I had a bingo card for every time I heard the word malevolent, like malevolent, malevolent, malevolent.
The next time the word malevolent comes up, I'm just gonna say something
Okay,
different.
let me see here. I don't see it in the next one. Fingers crossed.
Okay,
So number 3, this is one of your favorites, Annabelle.
I'm gonna read this one.
You want to read Annabelle?
Yeah, you just read.
Okay, you can read Annabelle. So, fun fact about Annabelle, Erika is like really, really weird about Annabelle.
So in the movie, the Annabelle, they use it looks like a plastic doll because she's like
Yeah, they kind
her
of
cheeks
like
are like glistening and shiny.
they Hollywood her up
Oh yeah, but
and
in real life, it's a
Raggedy Ann.
in real life she's a Raggedy Ann doll. And rumor is that if you look her in the eye, she can like possess you or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. But anytime the real life doll comes across my screen, whether it's Zach Bagans at the museum or a documentary or an investigation, I look away. Like I will not look at the screen.
I'll hold. I'm proof of that because we were watching this documentary last night where these guys spend the night in the Warrens Museum, which is fucking insane. You got to be next level, like insane to do some shit like that. Think of all the shit that's haunted in their museum. Ed and Lorraine Warren have a museum dedicated to a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it memorabilia, but cursed pieces from along the road that
All
they've,
of their investigations, they took
and
something
think
from every
10,000 cases.
yeah,
ten
a lot
thousand
of stuff.
cases. That's a lot of stuff. And I
Robert
mean,
the doll, I think they have.
I don't know if they have Robert the doll. I know they have Annabelle. I don't know if they have Robert, but they have like
I thought they
fucking.
did.
They might. But we were watching this documentary last night, and they showed Annabelle on the screen, and Erika's like, "Nope." She literally turns away like, "Nope," and I'm just looking at her. I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Dead serious.
Dead serious.
Literally. Nope. In the late 1960s, a young woman named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother. Donna lived with her college roommate, Angie, in an apartment in Hartford, Connecticut. Initially, the doll seemed harmless and was simply a decorative item in their home. Strange things started happening soon after Donna and Angie placed the doll on a chair in the living room. They would find the doll in different positions, with its arms and legs crossed or uncrossed. Sometimes it even moved to different rooms on its own. At first, they dismissed these incidents as their imagination or a prank. As the paranormal activity escalated, the roommates grew increasingly concerned. They would find small handwritten notes scattered around the apartment, even though they didn't own any paper or pens of that kind. The notes had messages like "Help us" or "Help Lou," a friend of the roommates. One of the most disturbing incidents occurred when Donna found bloodstains on the doll's dress. They also claimed to witness the doll levitating and found it in different rooms, sometimes standing on its own. Alarmed, Donna and Angie sought help from a medium who conducted a seance. Through the medium, they learned that a deceased 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins was supposedly inhabiting the doll. This led them to believe that the doll was possessed by a malevolent spirit. There it is.
Bing.
Fearing for their safety, Donna and Angie reached out to the Warrens for assistance. Ed and Lorraine Warren, experienced paranormal investigators, concluded that the doll was not possessed but being manipulated by an inhumane presence trying to gain control over the occupants of the apartment. The Warrens decided to remove the doll from the apartment and took it into their possession. They believed that the doll served as a conduit for a demonic entity seeking to possess a human host. They kept the doll in a specially constructed glass case in their occult museum, which they claimed was blessed by a priest. The Annabelle doll became a significant attraction in the Warrens Museum, drawing visitors interested in the paranormal. It remained there for several decades until the museum's closure in 2019.
I didn't know the museum closed.
I think
I thought their son ran it.
Zach Bagans, I really do think I think he got a lot of stuff from their museum because he has a museum in Vegas that you can actually go and tour and you have to sign a waiver, you
He
have
just
to
paid
do
like a fuck ton of money for it.
he had to have. But I feel like
Well,
I
he has
remember
that
watching an
show, that
episode.
haunted item show or something like that,
I
isn't it?
don't know.
I'm curious about that. There, a fun fact. I don't know why, but they said you were not allowed to be in that museum past 9 p.m. I don't know why.
Shoot, I wouldn't want to be in there past
I
9
wouldn't want
p.m.
to be in there fucking all. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the life that their daughter had, knowing that that room was in the house?
Mm,
Fuck that shit. And the movies always, I think Annabelle is like one of the movies that, like, she always had like this curiosity of like going into the room, and like one like in the movie like she finally goes in and like Annabelle.
I don't know if that happened in real life
I don't know
though.
either. Obviously,
If my,
Ed
I
tell
mean, if my parents told me don't go in there, like I probably
Ed
wouldn't
tells
want
a
to do it.
story. Ed tells. I mean, I don't know if he's full of shit, but Ed tells a story that he's witnessed Annabelle standing, the Raggedy Ann doll standing straight up.
Mm-mm.
This last one that we're going to cover is the Enfield poltergeist. This is the one that I'm pretty sure it's 2, The Conjuring 2. It's the one where they're in England. And it's that fucking girl in the red, like that red nightie. And she's like talking like she's got the old man voice, like growling and stuff. You remember in the movie? And it's got that old man in the chair. Like he died in that chair in the corner. You know what I'm talking about? It's
Yes.
that one. And she's
Yes.
like locked in that one room and it's got like 50 crosses on the wall.
Yeah.
And the door shut and all the crosses drop. This is okay. So, fun fact, there's a real interview that I might actually put this in and let you guys watch it. Of that girl during the possession talking like that old man.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
No, not the real interview, but I'd like to.
Like, there is no way in fuck that a girl that young can make her voice
Oh
sound like
no,
that.
not that deep.
Like it
I
was,
remember the movie how deep and
and it sounds
dark it
just like
was.
that, like just like that.
Mm-mm.
And it's crazy how much they got the girl in the movie to look like the actual girl. They look a lot alike.
Yeah.
The Enfield poltergeist. In the late 1970s, a series of disturbing occurrences took place in a council house in Enfield, London, involving the Hodgson family. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother, lived in the house with her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. It began with strange knocking sounds and furniture moving on its own, but soon escalated into a full-fledged poltergeist phenomenon. This is also the movie where the little boy liked
It's
sleeping in
like
his
that little
tent.
toy.
He
What was
slept
it?
in his tent.
It was a fire truck
Yeah.
or a police car.
It was something like that, and it,
Yeah, it had sirens though. I remember
yeah,
that.
yeah. Reports of the furniture being thrown, objects levitating, and unexplained voices were just some of the paranormal activity experienced by the family. The most notable incidents centered around Janet, an 11-year-old girl who appeared to be the primary target of the poltergeist's attention. She claimed to be possessed by the spirit and would speak in different voices, some of which were identified as deceased individuals. Insane. Like, there's actual footage of that. You guys can watch it. News of the haunting spread, and the case caught attention of the media and paranormal investigators, including Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens, known for their expertise in dealing with supernatural phenomena, decided to visit the Hodgson family in 1978 to assess the situation. During their investigation, the Warrens witnessed various paranormal events firsthand. They observed furniture moving, heard unexplained knocking sounds, and even claimed to have seen Janet levitate off her bed. They believed that the Enfield poltergeist was not a traditional haunting, but rather a case of demonic possession. Ed and Lorraine conducted several interviews with the family, local witnesses, and experts in an attempt to gather evidence and understand the nature of the entity. They also provided support and counseling to the Hodgson family, who were deeply affected by the ongoing disturbances. The Enfield poltergeist case garnered significant public attention and divided opinions. Skeptics accused the family of creating the phenomena themselves, suggesting that they were seeking attention or playing elaborate pranks. Do you remember that in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Where they were like calling bullshit, like they were like saying, "No, this ain't true. This
They
ain't
were
true."
so desperate for help in the
Yeah,
movie,
and
like nobody would help them
like
because
they were just
everybody thought they were
so
faking it.
yeah, like they. That's what I'm saying about these movies. Yeah, there's a lot of Hollywood in it, but they stuck to the stories.
Oh yeah.
They stuck to the stories. However, others, including the Warrens, believe that the events were genuine and indicative of the malevolent. And is it not indicative?
I'm looking at the word malevolent again.
Oh, or genuine and indicative of the malevolent bing entity at work. While the Warrens offered their assistance, the Enfield case was ultimately not officially resolved. The haunting gradually subsided over time, and the Hodgson family eventually moved out of the house.
There'd be no eventually about it.
Yeah, which that I don't know. See, that's where the movie gets a little wonky because in the movie they solved it. Remember at the very end, they actually I think this might have been the Hollywood type thing. So the old man was the protagonist in the movie, but really he was just trying to leave the house, but the nun was keeping him there.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? And Lorraine had visions of Ed always dying in the top of that room, like getting thrown off onto the spike and
Yes.
stuff. You
The
remember?
tree, and it was
Yeah.
like pointed.
Yeah. That's kind of where the Hollywood got into that shit. The Enfield poltergeist case remains one of the most well known and controversial investigations associated with Ed and Lorraine Warren. It has inspired books, documentaries, and even the horror film, The Conjuring 2, I was right, okay, which dramatized their involvement in the case. These are just a few examples of the cases that Ed and Lorraine Warren worked on throughout their careers. Their investigations often involved documenting paranormal phenomena, providing support to affected families, and using their knowledge of demonology to combat Mal?
Malevolent.
Okay. Combat malevolent forces. We're just going to use that right there.
Malicious. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened there. So, like I was saying, I don't. What did they have? They were just helping people.
Mhm.
Like they wasn't asking for money. Yeah, they was writing books, but they were genuinely trying to help people when other people were calling them fucking kooks and crazy.
Yep.
Like,
Well, and that's another thing. Like seeing is believing. If we were to, I'm not even gonna say this, but if we were non-believers and somebody were to come to us and say, "Oh, I need help. My house is haunted. This, that, and the other," if you're a non-believer, you're gonna say, "Oh, you're faking it."
you're fucking
Like,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they were believers because, again, seeing is believing, and they had spent their entire life dealing with this
Entire
stuff.
life.
So
Exactly.
when somebody comes crying for help, you're gonna help because not a lot of people have those traits and those abilities like Ed and Lorraine did.
And they performed hundreds of exorcisms,
Mm-hmm.
and they worked with the churches. So the churches even were like in on like
Backed them and
backed them.
yep,
Like so, I mean, regardless of what you believe, there's something to say about that.
absolutely.
So, Ed Warren passed away on August 23rd, 2006, while Lorraine continued their work until her death on April 18th, 2019. Their dedication and contributions to the field of paranormal research and demonology have left an enduring legacy, inspiring countless individuals and shaping the modern understanding of the supernatural. I'm just going to be the first to say the Conjuring series is the best horror film series ever to be made.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Ever to be made. And I would love, absolutely love, if they brought Amityville into the Conjuring universe. The Amityville movie that they made wasn't a part of the Conjuring universe. If they
Right.
brought the Amityville case into, especially after what Lorraine said, like, I don't want to fucking go back to that shit. They could do so much shit with
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like, there's just so many more cases that they've done 10,000 cases. So it's like, I just can't wait for more movies to come out. Regardless, so we'll wrap this up with, I just think that they were two super fucking dope people.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't know, one, that they exist, and two, a lot of people don't know that they're, some probably think they're just in the movie, but no, they're, those are based on true events, real people.
You didn't know that for the
I
longest
didn't.
time.
I didn't. But once I did learn, I became fascinated.
And that's another thing that just drew me into them. Like, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of Hollywood into this, but it's like,
There's still so much to learn about them and what they did and how many people they helped
so
over the
they
years.
so they have audio recordings of sworn testimony of police officers going into houses, and the officers saying, listen, I know how this sounds, but the chair moved.
Mm-hmm.
The door slammed shut. Things were thrown off the counter with nobody around.
Right.
There were odors in the house that wasn't just gas or you couldn't explain. Cops saying this. Like,
Right.
and so they did so you remember the Devil Made Me Do It thing? So the Devil Made Me Do It, that's another Conjuring movie that came out, was really good. That was the case. I can't remember who exactly it was, but that was the very first time that a guy murdered someone and he proclaimed that the devil made him do it. and Ed and Lorraine Warren wanted to defend him in the court, but the court threw it out, saying that you can't use the devil as, the reason for killing someone.
Mhm.
Well, Ed and Lorraine Warren supposedly, this is how the story goes, had footage of things happening with this guy, and they wouldn't let them show it. They destroyed the footage. Insane. So we'll end it there. Next week, we hope to have all four of us here for a fun little Halloween episode. I think we're going to talk about like our
like an open-ended discussion episode. Nothing
open-ended,
really
yeah.
scripted.
Nothing
Just
scripted.
Conversation.
Delphi murder update
We do need to
coming
updates.
next week. Some insane shit happening with Delphi.
There's a lot going on there.
Yep. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Visit plenty of haunted houses. Subscribe.
Do it for us.
Just do it for us, yeah. Follow us on all social media. Like, share, subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. Be a friend, tell a friend. Share.
Merch coming soon.
Merch coming soon. Represent Algorithm Podcast. Love you guys. See ya.
Peace.
Peace.